Hey guys, this is Nicole Virgil. Welcome to my neighborhood. This is episode 3 in the What People Say About Elmhurst Hooplah series. Join me as I talk to actual Elmhurst residents and see what they really think about having lived next to the hoop house or allowing hoop houses in Elmhurst. You're going to hear testimony from these neighbors which directly contradicts the assertions of many of the Elmhurst aldermen. The aldermen asserted that there was as much opposition as there was support for hoop houses in Elmhurst, a claim that's impossible to take seriously when you consider the evidence. But even if there was a large contingent of opposition, should they be able to vote to take away my property rights? Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Here we go. There were a lot of city meetings over the past 2.5 years.
There were a lot of city meetings.
Yeah, so
Yes.
Were you able to attend any of those meetings?
Yeah, it was a committee meeting, and there was no one there who was not in support, and everyone there was taking their turn speaking out in support. We all had kind of various reasons why we thought it was a reasonable thing, but since then I had attended several committee meetings, all of the commission meetings, and the final vote at City Hall.
So was there a lot of support at all the meetings or just at a few?
Yeah, there was a lot of support, and in fact that was kind of, I guess I was naive in the beginning because I felt like, well, this is a really reasonable thing that she's asking. You know, I kept saying, you know, to people when I would talk about it, I'd be like, it's vegetables. I mean, this is ultimately, we're talking about vegetables. And I couldn't believe that all this fuss was being made about someone's ability to garden. What kept me going back to the meetings was kind of this sense of incredulousness that I kind of really couldn't believe what I was seeing. That I was naive, I think, at that first meeting, and I was expecting that the city would, you know, realize that there was a reasonable thing that was being asked, and there was a party who was trying to find reasonable compromises, because I remember that was one of the things you talked about at that very first meeting was, you know, that if it wasn't part of the code right now, that maybe we could find a way to make it part of the code. So it was never like, I just want to do what I want kind of a thing. It was, you know, trying to find a reasonable compromise that would make all parties happy, but the city ultimately would recognize that the code was old and wasn't meeting needs anymore and needed updating. And I guess I just assumed that common sense would prevail, but unfortunately that's not the direction that this has taken. It is vegetables, though, and ultimately, and I think that.
Yeah. Thank you for coming, Susan. Can you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. My name is Susan O'Donnell Warren. I moved to Elmhurst in 2000. Our son Liam was born exactly a year later, and we raised our 3 children here.
So, how did you find out about Hoop House?
Well, it was funny because I was very politically involved just in electoral politics. Someone put in an article on a discussion page, and I was kind of dumbfounded that I saw that there was an Elmhurst resident and she was being ordered to take down her hoop house because there was a problem with how she was growing vegetables on her private property. And I remember that moment because I was like, I think I can punt on this one. Surely it's vegetables, it's her property. I see a photo with many people at a meeting and speaking out in support. Surely I don't need to, this is one issue I don't need to get involved in because I was already feeling overextended.
I see.
And short on time. And I thought, it's her property, it's vegetables. That was not the case. But literally, that was the first fault. I was like, it's vegetables. I think
Okay.
they are okay without your help on this one, Susan.
Okay, so
I didn't see how a family chooses to grow their vegetables or when they choose to grow their vegetables. I was just kind of incredulous that other people's opinions on that would be a matter of law or public policy. I had not seen that coming, in all honesty.
neither did we. Was there any negative impact to the aesthetics of the neighborhood, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I almost chuckled when you asked that question because I personally, I'm a firm believer that I don't really have any right to look in your yard. You know, like what's in your yard is your business, you know, so that would never bother me, whatever's in your yard, a little different. But what's in your yard, not in the public view, and you're growing vegetables, I mean, I wouldn't even think that way if I walked by and saw something on your property. Like, how does it affect me? How does it affect anybody? So that's, you know, my opinion, how strongly I feel about something like that. When you're growing vegetables, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and did you have any opinion about it?
No, I mean,
Just from the appearance?
no, I mean, it always looked nice. It wasn't sloppy. It wasn't falling apart. And honestly, I walk the dog all the time. I would have to be way past your house and have to look into your backyard to see it. I mean, look hard,
Yeah,
because you can't see it from the street.
yeah. When
It's
you
terrible.
attended meetings, what did you notice in terms of community support? Was there any?
I think
That you
there was
noticed?
a lot.
Oh my gosh.
I think
I mean, and they weren't just neighbors. I mean, there were a couple neighbors. I mean, and then there were people from all over the community, and then like maybe some from DuPage that came to DuPage County and stuff. Honestly, the only opposition may have been, wasn't it that lady, the secretary or something? I don't even, yeah.
just the fact that it's food, it's so hard for me to grasp how anyone can control that. You know, most of this country is farmland. And if you go back 200 years and people came here and became farmers, and can you imagine what our forefathers might think to say, someday we're gonna stop somebody from growing food in their backyard? And, you know, I know there's a structure there, but it's, to me, it's like beyond ridiculous.
Right.
So there's other months where we're really not walking up and down the block as much.
Yeah.
I'm not standing out on my deck listening, or if there's a wrinkle, I never noticed it. So it's the time of the year is when we're all kind of inside inside more anyways.
Yeah.
So you are probably walking less, looking at it less, and if it's dangerous, is one thing. If it's just an aesthetic reason, it's in your yard, on your property, don't look at it.
I think I'm a little more aggravated with the city council, like probably like more on a personal level. Like, so a family is growing vegetables, and the family next door, behind, whatever, doesn't like it, so they complain. Okay, so they leave you alone for the first year, then they complain again, and all of a sudden, like, they just, you know, go overboard. You know, like it's aggravating. I mean, I don't understand. So one person complains, and 100 people are like fighting for it, but they're still prevailing. And the time they're making you jump through hoops. The
No,
city, like,
just saying.
so you know,
we have more
what's the
green space.
problem? Like, don't you? There are other things you need to concentrate on, and I feel like they've just like gone after you and blown this out of proportion, and I think they're wasting too much time. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, you're growing vegetables.
Yeah.
And the first year was okay. And then someone still got their undies in a bunch and complained, and then they had to come back, and then, so they would go away, they came after you.
Right.
That's
So-
my perspective, and it's a personal thing, it's just annoying, that's all.
Yeah, so thank you for coming, Katie.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little about yourself?
Yes, I've lived in Elmhurst my whole life, essentially, except for 4 years in Evanston. And I have 6 children here, and I'm a freelance author and illustrator.
Okay, cool. What's your impression of the idea of having a hoop house? What do you think?
To be honest with you, I didn't understand at first what the, I don't want to say, what the hoopla, what the hype about everything was. I didn't understand why people had such a problem with it. And I thought maybe when I saw a picture, I could maybe make sense of it better, because I do try to stay objective before I jump in and cast an opinion one way or the other. But I saw the picture and I didn't find it to be visually, appalling. I tried to picture myself living next door to a structure like that, and I didn't think I would be at all upset by doing so. I also found it, I don't know, it just seemed like there had been a lot of outreach on your part, and that to me is key. I didn't really get the objections, and when I tried to, I wasn't sold that the approach, as to why we wouldn't have one or allow for the possibility of having one was that valid. So
What objections did you hear?
I had heard that, first of all, I'd heard that it was like this, I don't want to say visually appalling thing, but that it wasn't.
Well, that's accurate. That's what.
That it wasn't appealing, and I don't know. And to me, that was kind of ridiculous, because you can drive around Elmhurst and you see all kinds of things in people's backyards. You see ice rinks. You see. I go into a dozen different scenarios, but so I didn't find that a stunning argument, especially because you were using it to good end. In my mind,
Just the only thing I've heard is that it's ridiculous that you can't grow vegetables in your own backyard, and it's not hurting anybody. Those were all the things that I heard. It's not hurting anybody. They use it in the winter. They're not outside on their patio in the winter. So what does it matter? And nobody else is complaining. And I have asked other people that I know on this block if they have issues, and everyone has said no. They don't have any issues.
It feels to us like growing food on your own property should be considered a property, right?
Right.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, I would think so.
To you?
Just like putting a pool in your backyard, putting a trampoline in your backyard.
We do have, side note, we have photos of many backyard residential membrane structures. Many.
So
of a variety of uses. Hoop houses that you can get like at Menards.
yeah,
Sometimes people buy like an outdoor living room and they put furniture in it, and it, they zip down the sides in
Yeah.
the winter so that the furniture is protected, but
Right.
then they roll up. So, some of those are either year round. It's just a flexible living space.
Right.
For use during the summer, but
yeah. The only difference is that you have tomatoes, carrots, and peas growing in yours, and not lawn furniture.
right. So
And you stuck to all the rules that they gave you up front, and then came back and said, no, we didn't mean any of that stuff. I think that was really poorly handled by the city. You tried in every way. You offered to have people come to tour. You invited city government members to come and tour and listen, and
as a matter of fact, none of the aldermen took me up on my offer to come see the hoop house while it was still standing. But I found out at that meeting in March of this year, 2019, that many of them came anyway and
Just didn't
trespassed
tell
on
you.
the property to take a look and didn't comment. One alderman told me in March that he came, saw, and spoke to my most immediate neighbor who's closest to where the hoop house was located, and then that neighbor told him personally the hoop house made no noise and caused no trouble, and he was fine with it. And yet he still asserts, this particular alderman still asserts, that the hoop house presents noise pollution issues.
to eat. When you're growing your own vegetables, and you know what's safe to eat and what isn't safe to eat, and everything that you grow is safe to eat. And when you share it with the neighbors, we all benefit. So there's no downside to this.